Says the city still has a long way to go.
We still haven't fully resolved the structural deficit that this city has built up over the course of many, many years. We're on the road to doing that, but it's not quite done.
The budget won unanimous approval and a round of applause.
Job well done.
I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Mayor Eric Garcetti is expected to approve the budget, which would then go into effect on July 1st. Well, with summer vacation right around the corner, why not take the train to the beach? After 63 years, the service is officially back. Gil Reyes reports on the Expo Line extension to Santa Monica.
It has finally arrived, a train that takes you within walking distance of the beach.
We've been waiting a long time, and it's awesome.
Not since the extinction of LA streetcars in the 1950s has rail service stopped this close to the ocean. The Metro Expo line now stretches to downtown Santa Monica, 4th and Colorado to be exact. Daniel Smith and his wife are part of the crowd, taking advantage of free rides on opening weekend and to witness history.
We're really excited. My wife and I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and so we watched the start of BART being produced, and now we're watching Santa Monica get what we had. So it's very, very exciting. We've been longtime residents of Santa Monica, and it's wonderful to see.
The 6.6-mile extension offers 7 new stops between Santa Monica and Culver City. It's also plugged into the rest of Metro's rail network, an alternative to driving to and from the beach and also, of course, to and from work. Officials say the average ride from downtown LA to Santa Monica will take you about 45 minutes.
This is about somebody who's going to be able to say, I can take that job in Santa Monica or in Los Angeles, in Culver City, because before I couldn't take that job if I had to commute in my car. This is about real people and real stories, and it's about us turning the page here in Los Angeles.
And there's also a lot of discussion about how we can move these projects up, make them happen a lot more quickly, so that we get more people on trains and on buses, out of cars, out of traffic.
LA Mayor Eric Garcetti and the rest of the Metro Board are pushing for a half-cent sales tax increase this fall to fund even more rail and transportation-related improvements. Within walking distance of the surf, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Limited parking is available at 3 train stops along the route. The cost is $2 a day. The $1.5 billion rail extension was completed on time and on budget. Well, Angelenos got treated to a piece of spacecraft parading through LA streets, a piece of hardware that will now go on exhibit at the California Science Center. Anna Marcos has more on the historic Mission 26 ET Comes Home and what it means for LA.
What a welcome. Thousands of Angelenos came out to watch, climb trees, cheer, and take pictures as ET-94 made its way through the streets of Marina del Rey, Inglewood, and South LA at 5 miles an hour.
Well, it's historic, man, to see this tank from the space shuttle coming by. I was also blessed to be out here when the space shuttle itself came through.
Children, young and old, were impressed.
I think it's just very big. It's awesome to see. It's actually, it's kind of the biggest thing I think I've seen.
It's kind of it looks a little bit alien to me. I mean, it's a bit strange.
Well, it's a lot bigger than I thought it was. So it's huge.
We know how important this is. You can judge it by the response of the kids along the path that we brought it here. Their eyes get big, they smile. Some of them had astronaut costumes on. And this is a great thing for Los Angeles.
Speaking of astronaut costumes, we caught some real astronauts in the crowd signing autographs.
This is history for LA. Hello, we're from LA.
The 15-story high orange tank was originally built to help launch and feed fuel to the space shuttle Columbia. Tanks blow up in the atmosphere once they're used, but this one was never used. It's the last remaining NASA external tank in existence. NASA awarded it to LA's California Science Center, where together with the Space Shuttle Endeavour, it will become part of a full-stack shuttle display.
If you've never seen one, it's amazing. It's 20 stories tall. It allows us to talk so much about science and engineering, math, and to serve to inspire the next generation of scientists, engineers, and explorers.
DWP crews moved and cut power lines to allow the massive tank through. But unlike the Space Shuttle Endeavour 3 years ago, this parade route did not require the cutting down of any trees. Finally, after an 18-hour street cruise, ET-94 arrived at its permanent home in Exposition Park. For many here, it was a moment that will go down in history. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Although ET-94 will be available for viewing, the public will have to wait a few more years before seeing it in a full-stack display. While a new city audit finds money could be saved by hiring more civilians at the LAPD. And as Gil Reyes reports, city streets might also be safer.
Recruit Officer Arteaga, sir. 40509, sir.
These are LAPD jobs that are not in the field. Clerical workers, equipment room managers, couriers. But a new city audit finds too many of these positions are being filled by trained officers whose skills are needed on patrol.
Filling these jobs would free up officers to do what they do best, to fight crime.
LA City Controller Ron Galperin's audit urges the city to adopt a long-term goal of hiring more civilian staff at the LAPD. A shortage has forced more than 620 officers to fill these positions. Many of them are desk jobs. That means fewer cops on the beat.
Put the pencils down to get away from the cubicles, to go out back into black and white and do what they were paid to do, what they wanted to do, and what they signed up to do. And that's to keep us all safe.
City Councilman Mitchell Englander, an LAPD reservist, says more officers on patrol are especially needed now, following upticks in crime. So far this year, violent crime is up by more than 12% from the same period last year. Controller Ron Galperin adds that the city wastes money by using trained cops to fill these jobs.
We now do have the broad support necessary to make these changes and to put more police in our neighborhoods where they work every day to keep us safe.
In downtown LA, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Of those 620 sworn officers filling civilian jobs, more than 400 are said to be fully capable of patrolling city streets. Another international city is now closer than ever as one more airline is cleared for takeoff at LAX. And this one is taking the passenger experience to a whole new level. Rasha Goel has more.
A smooth landing for Aer Lingus, the newest airline to join the LAX flight roster. Having operated here from 1999 to 2008, Aer Lingus now returns to LAX and offers direct service from Los Angeles to Dublin, Ireland.
An aircraft and a flight and a service is a measure of the relationship between Ireland and the West Coast. And particularly here in LA, we have a very strong relationship.
Our goal for LAX is very simple. Like to deliver a modern, efficient airport with a hospitality mindset while firmly training our eyes on safety and security.
Passengers on the inaugural flight were thrilled about the new route.
They make you feel at home more than like the other airlines do.
Brilliant. Everything was fine, like Wi-Fi, food, meals, everything was fine.
And what made the flight even more exciting was that it was piloted by an all-female flight crew, something that we don't often get to see.
This is the first time in Aer Lingus that we've had 3 operational female crew working together. So that means a lot to me. It's a really big deal.
In addition to value-based pricing, Wi-Fi for the entire duration of the flight, and free stopovers in Ireland, passengers also receive advantages when it comes to customs.
That you clear U.S. customs in Ireland before you begin your transatlantic journey home, which saves you time on arrival.
Officials say the Aer Lingus flight into LAX is the longest flight for the airline's entire network, nearing about 10 hours. From LAX, I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
This direct flight from Aer Lingus saves passengers between 4 and 5 hours if they had connecting flights. While the innovative plan providing free computers to families in need returns to South LA for its latest rollout. Gil Reyes has part 2 of his special report on the R-Cycle program and plans to improve it moving forward.
What you're going to do is go around the corner here.
Free computers are given away to families that need them most.
Oh, it's great. The kids are excited, and so am I.
Around 100 families living near Budlong Elementary and Dantzler Charter Schools received the giveaways, the latest to benefit from the Our Cycle LA program.
In many cases, this is their first technology that they're able to bring into their home, first piece of technology.
And you need it, right?
Yeah, it's almost impossible nowadays to be able to do anything on a day-to-day basis without it.
Our Cycle takes old City of LA computers and instead of chucking them, upgrades them for disadvantaged families. Windows 7 and virus protection included. Credit multiple entities for that, including the nonprofit group Human IT. The city hires them for computer repairs.
It's a universal need, whether you're talking about senior citizens that need access to health care or young children that need access to computer to do their homework. Technology is just a universal need in this day and age.
Instead of being thrown away and building up waste in landfills, the city's General Services Department found space in a downtown LA warehouse to store thousands of broken or unusable city computers so they can be refurbished.
An old street services storage area that we was not using, so it was great that we had the space to put them in there so they could facilitate this project.
And what a project so far. Hundreds of families from San Pedro, Baldwin Village, Koreatown, and more have entered the digital age since the pilot program launched a year ago. The city's Information Technology Agency, or ITA, led this rollout to help families bridge the digital divide.
Technology is not a nice to have anymore. It's absolutely a need to have. In fact, my daughter, where she goes to school here in LA Unified School District, she's given assignments where she's expected to watch email, to get on Schoology, submit assignments online. And without having technology in the house, it becomes very difficult just to get ahead.
We need a computer. And I have my laptop. We have an old Dell that's we probably need to turn it in to be refurbished, but this will definitely help the family.
City leaders want Our Cycle rolled out to other parts of South LA and the San Fernando Valley. Mayor Eric Garcetti wants to prioritize the hiring of the homeless and the formerly incarcerated for thousands of civil service positions, but they'll need internet to look up jobs and apply. So the city is considering free Wi-Fi in homeless encampments and more.
Creating some hotspots at schools and churches, at community-based organizations, so that these internet resources can be used actively.
We want to do them all over the district. The Council President Wesson, Price, and I, we've been talking about this for months, and so we want to do a tour of the community, giving away computers with internet access as much as we can and as fast as they can be produced.
Another plan in the works is reducing the cost of Wi-Fi for Time Warner cable customers of low income through partnerships.
Right now you can get access to the internet for $15 a month, but we'd love to drive that cost even lower. And we'd love to find really creative ways, working with public libraries and others, to be able to bring internet right to where people are in their homes. And so we'll have some new news for you coming up on that.
So I'm hopeful that we have some big giants of business that want to partner with the city of LA and make this even a bigger and a better program.
And good news for many more families. We're told the LA City Council recently approved $117,000 in the upcoming city budget to continue this program. In South LA, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Our Cycle plans to give away even more computers in the weeks to come in Canoga Park and at Camp Wesson Summer Camp just before the kids go home. While LA's council member Nuri Martinez has been singled out as a phenomenal woman, the YWCA of Greater LA recognized her at its annual awards and fundraiser. Ana Marcos has more.
All things are possible in the lives of phenomenal women.
It was an event by women, for women, inspired by an organization created for women. The YWCA of Greater LA held its annual Phenomenal Woman Awards to honor those who are a driving force in LA's corporate, government, and philanthropy worlds.
This event was put together to assimilate powerful, confident, visionary women so that we might inspire each other.
Councilmember Nuri Martinez was one of 3 recipients.
And the wonderful thing about this event is you get to highlight some of the good work that women are doing across the city, and it's also coming together to raise money for the YWCA.
But hand in hand with inspiration, the event also served to highlight some of the challenges facing women. As model and actress Kathy Ireland, the event co-chair, pointed out.
Splashed across the front page, Santa Barbara, a hub for sex trafficking. Heartbreaking that this atrocity occurs all over our world, all over our nation.
The point for many here is that if anyone can work on the challenges, it is these women, all movers and shakers in L.A., whether they've won a Phenomenal Woman Award or not. I'm Anna Marcos for L.A. This Week.
The 2 other Phenomenal Women Award recipients were Lisa Paulson, President and CEO of the Entertainment Industry Foundation, and Delilah Lanois Harris, President of SMS Transportation Services. Well, the city of LA signs off on an official plan to reduce greenhouse emissions. South LA welcomes a new affordable housing complex, and pedestrian safety gets a boost thanks to a new traffic light at a busy Highland Park intersection. All these stories in City Beat. The Los Angeles City Council unanimously approved a motion by Councilmember Paul Koretz to establish the city's official target of reducing its greenhouse gas emissions to 80% below 1990 levels by 2050, and directing city departments to create climate action plans to meet the interim goals set by Mayor Garcetti in his Sustainable City Plan. Los Angeles is already transitioning away from carbon-burning fuels and making major investments in clean energy technology. Councilmember Koretz was joined by other climate advocates at City Hall to promote his climate change plan.
The future of this great city, and frankly the future of the rest of the world, depends on our getting it right and doing it fast.
Community of Friends, a group that builds housing for low-income individuals and those living with mental illness, gathered with city leaders and the Hyde Park community recently to celebrate the groundbreaking of Silver Star Apartments, an affordable housing complex on West Boulevard in Hyde Park. Situated on a 30,000 square foot site, the project will consist of a 4-story contemporary-style apartment building with 48 one-bedroom units. The development will be a special needs community targeting veterans who are homeless and living with mental illness.
This facility will be part of bringing back our neighborhood and making our neighborhood better than we found it in.
A new traffic signal was recently installed in Council District 1 along North Figueroa and Avenue 55. Councilmember Gil Cedillo identified the funds to allow the signal to be constructed and address the critical pedestrian safety needs along this heavily used pedestrian and transit corridor. Cedillo said safety is a top priority.
There is nothing more important than public safety. It's why we have government.
For more than 100 years, the Orthopedic Institute for Children has been dedicated to serving young patients across Los Angeles. LA Mayor Eric Garcetti joined Institute officials recently to celebrate a major step forward. Rich Samuels has more.
At the Orthopedic Institute, local children tried out the playground, a symbol of an optimistic future for young patients treated here every day. Doctors, patients, and L.A. Mayor Eric Garcetti recently celebrated a great step forward for the Institute, L.A.'s first ambulatory surgery center designed and built exclusively for children. CEO Dr. Anthony Scaduto couldn't wait to show it off.
This room is specifically designed to do orthopedic surgery. It would be surgery that is state-of-the-art. There's special design features to this operating room that allows us to treat many of our children on an outpatient basis.
We've got 6 pre-op, post-op rooms to use, and the last room also is a procedure room, so we can do things like apply casts and do minor procedures.
I don't know if I've been in a medical facility that looks so gorgeous and that is designed with both the patients and the doctors and the way that they serve in mind.
And thanks to the city of Los Angeles, the surgery center became a reality in record time.
Normally, the state's health planning agency oversees construction of this kind But this center is one of the first healthcare projects in California that was completely overseen at the municipal level.
What did municipal oversight mean? The permitting process, for example, which can take as long as 11 months, was reduced to just 5. The Orthopedic Institute for Children treats a number of orthopedic specialties, ranging from muscular dystrophy and club foot to sports injuries, common fractures, and hand trauma. With 13,000 square feet of new space, there's plenty of room to meet the demand. This is Rich Samuels for LA This Week.
More than 2 million children have been treated by the Institute since 1911. Well, it's a top honor by one of the top Democratic clubs in California. Mayor Eric Garcetti was one of several leaders honored by the Stonewall Democratic Club. Anna Marcos has more on how the mayor's work in the LGBT community earned him the award.
They're called the Stony Awards, a sort of Humanitarian of the Year award for LGBT issues. And this year, our own Mayor Eric Garcetti has clinched one of them as Elected Official of the Year. The reason, his creation of a council of transgender community leaders to help advise the city on transgender issues.
We don't have to read about history of the LGBTQ movement in other places. It's right here. This is the fulcrum. This is Selma, Alabama.
The Stonewall Democratic Club has become a force to be reckoned with in politics. It focuses on LGBT and women's rights, but also helps lead the way on all democratic issues of equality and justice.
We will also continue to hold our elected representatives accountable on environmental issues, affordable and accessible housing, healthcare access, immigration reform, and fair wages, because all of those things are LGBTQI issues.
What a hell of a year to be a Democrat, and a lesbian, and a feminist, and a progressive.
Other Stony Awards went to L.A. County Assessor Jeffrey Prang, chosen as Public Official of the Year, and Rabbi Denise Egger, who took the Sheila Kuehl Trailblazer Award.
I've served our community, the LGBTQ Jewish community, and our larger LGBTQ community for nearly 30 years now. From the depths of the AIDS crisis to the heights of marriage equality and beyond.
And this year, the death of a popular council member has created a new award, the Bill Rosendahl Courage Award, which went to its namesake, the late council member Bill Rosendahl, and LA's first openly gay council member.
I don't feel like he's gone. I still feel his warmth. I still feel his encouragement.
Future Bill Rosendahl Awards will be given to those who bravely speak their minds on LGBT and progressive values. But then it seems all of the honorees have done just that. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
The final Stony Award went to Jane Wishin, known for her work on AIDS and LGBT issues. Well, enjoy a classic movie in a historic theater, take in a film fest that's gone to the dogs, and celebrate LA's rich cultural diversity during the Lummis Day Festival. All this in this week's Things to Do. This year marks the LA Conservancy's 30th season of classic films in historic theaters. To commemorate the occasion, the organization is going back to where it all began, Broadway's iconic movie palaces. With 9 screenings and lots of interesting events to go with them, including special backstage tours, panel discussions, and post-show film trivia at Clifton's, it's the place to be for the classic film buff. This year's lineup includes vintage crowd pleasers like To Kill a Mockingbird, Singing in the Rain, and Some Like It Hot. Check it out at Orpheum Theater, located at 842 South Broadway. For more, visit laconservancy.org. The Dog Film Festival seeks to educate about adoption, pet wellness issues, and philosophical aspects of pets in our lives. The festival is a unique way of honoring dogs as true family members by bringing together like-minded people to experience global filmmakers' celebration of the human-canine bond. The event showcases films that inspire, educate, and entertain, and are appropriate for all members of the human family. Come pay tribute to our favorite furry friends on Sunday, June 5th at The Crest, located at 1262 Westwood Boulevard in Westwood. See more at dogfilmfestival.com. This weekend, you can enjoy some fun at the Lummis Day Festival. Lummis Day is named after Charles Fletcher Lummis, who was the first city editor of the Los Angeles Times and founded the Southwest Museum, or the first museum in Los Angeles. This festival celebrates the art, history, and ethnic diversity in Los Angeles and is a cultural event that is community-oriented. The event takes place June 3rd through the 5th at York Park at Avenue 50 and at the Southwest Museum, featuring art, crafts, vendors, food trucks, poetry, and musical performances. For more, visit lummisday.org. And that's a look at some things to do. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Yana Kay, and from all of us here at LA This Week, thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Good morning. If everyone would please take their seats. Good morning. If everyone would please take their seats. It is Wednesday, June 1st. Welcome to your Los Angeles City Council. This council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. The public is welcome. Mr. Clerk, I believe we have a quorum. Would you please call the roll?
Blumenfield, Bono, Buscaino, Cedillo, Engler, Fuentes, Harris, Dawson, Weezer, Corretz, Krikorian, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rue, Wesson. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, first order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Bonin moves. Mr. Blumenfield seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
O'Farrell moves. Correct seconds. That brings us where?
Mr. President, item 26 is the consideration of the mayor's veto message. To date, it has not been received, and thus no council action is necessary. Further, there's been a request to continue item 1B to July 1st and item 13 to June 14.
Okay, so without objection, that will be the order. Continue.
Mr. President, items 1 through 10 are items noticed for public hearing.
Do we have cards on these items?
Yes, sir. Cards on 1, 6, and 10.
Why don't we hold those three items? Let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Madam Clerk, open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Continue.
Items 11 through 24 are items for which public hearings have been held. For item 14, a Planning and Land Use Management Committee report has been circulated and is now before Council for consideration.
Members, specials. Let's prepare to vote on these items. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
And, Mr. President, those ordinances will go over 1 week unless reconsidered later with 10 members. With 12 members. Mr. President, items 25 through 28 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items will be before us. And item 27, want to continue to Friday? Do we have cards?
No, sir. No cards on item 27, sir. We do have cards on 25, though.
Okay, let's hold that and vote on what's left. Let's open the roll.
And pardon
Yes.
me, sir. 27 was continued to this Friday?
Yes, this Friday.
That's June 3rd, sir.
Okay, thank you. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
It brings us where?
Mr. President, that takes council to presentations, items called special, or public comment for items not on council's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We'll go to item 6. Mr. Murphy, Sean Murphy. I thought I saw you earlier, Sean. Come on up. We're on item 6.
Yes, good morning. Item 6, I'm supporting this item. I think it's a good item for the city of Los Angeles.
Thank you, sir. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Mr. Clerk, we do have 12 members. Why don't we reconsider the ordinances, if you could identify them?
Very good, sir. Those would be items 11, 12, 13, and 14.
Okay, so the first vote will be on reconsideration. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Now we will actually vote on the items. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Thank you. We'll move to item 1. Ms. McAllister. Item 1, followed by Mr. Walsh.
morning, Mr. President.
Morning.
Under item 1, you said...
Hold her time. Shh. Let's be respectful. Okay, Ms. McAllister.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under number 1, it says that you want to hear protests and objections to the Building and Safety Department report and confirmation of lien for nuisance abatement costs and or noncompliance of code. Well, as you know, I disagree with the 250% that you charge as a penalty. That is, in some areas of finance, called usury. That should be down to 10% or nothing. People in this city are homeless, and they can't fix their violations because of all of the illegal immigrants, or not immigrants, illegal aliens, the criminals that we have in this country, and especially California. So I don't think that we should be charging them 250%. We want to help people stay in their homes, not put them on the street, and that's what this council is doing. Every day that I drive around, I see more and more senior citizens, 80, 90 years old, sitting on the street and laying on sidewalks and whatnot. So I think that we need to have this report. I want to know how much money you're making off this 250% and all of these other fines that you're charging Californians who are about to be put out on the street. Many of them can't fix this. And I also want to address the Handy Worker program to let people know that they can get this $5,000 to help fix the violations. Many of them don't know about the $5,000. Some of their violations are only maybe $600 or $700. They don't have $600 or $700, so they don't need the entire $5,000. They need $600 or $700. So let the people know about that program, because as far as I read, there's $2.6 million sitting in that fund for the Handy Worker program. And I've looked up this program, and the people that you have working for this program, I don't think they're higher minorities. So we need to get black people in that program working. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McAllister. Mr. Walsh?
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. Again, this is building and safety. If you don't keep your property up, Mr. Landlord or Miss Landlord, the city is going to go after you. When my landlord didn't keep up the property, I went to the city, and the city got things fixed really fast. It didn't have to go into a lien, because when you do a good job, I am the first to praise all 15 of you and the mayor. And when it comes to renting, you are doing an excellent job on catching these delinquent landlords. They're not homeless landlords. They're bloodsuckers. They're scumbags. Not my landlord, but a lot of landlords are scumbags. And this city council has done an excellent job. I know it annoys you when I praise you, and you know I'm not being sarcastic. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Okay, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll.
Pardon me, sir.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
There's been a request from the council member to continue this matter to July 1st.
Okay, so then without objection, that will be the order.
Very good, sir.
Mr. Krikorian, would you, it's my understanding you're going to do two things, kind of, sort of. One would be a vote. Do you want me to do the cards now, or how would you like to?
If you'd like, Mr. President, we can do that so that we can take up our agenda item immediately after the presentation, if that's your preference.
Okay, so why don't we do that? So on item 25, Suzanne Verghee, Lauren Lieb. Is this Geraldine Stapleton? Please come forward. Followed by Mr. Murphy.
Yes, item 25. It's a good item, and I'm supporting this.
Thank you. Please come forward and identify yourself.
Hello, my name is Suzanne Verge. I'm from the Los Angeles chapter of the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence. As a survivor of gun violence, I've lost my brother to gun violence. I've walked the halls with the mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers in Chicago who've lost their loved ones to gun violence. And so we are very supportive of City Council Member Krikorian's initiative. As a Brady activist, I'm a supporter of Mayor Garcetti's City Council Member Krikorian's, City Attorney Feuer's cooperative and ongoing leading efforts to have the City of Los Angeles and Los Angeles Police Department undertake and publicly release a comprehensive crime gun trace analysis report. Such crime trace analysis reports are critical to shine the light on the details and the data to specifically identify the origins of crime guns in a particular city, state, or county, to hold individual gun dealers accountable to stop bad gun apple dealers. And this is part of our initiative to go after the 5% of gun dealers who disproportionately supply 90% of our nation's crime guns. Again, 5% supply 90% of our nation's crime guns. I urge you to support this measure. Thank you.
Please come forward, identify yourself.
Hi, I'm Lauren Lieb from the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence, San Fernando Valley chapter. My family has had personal experience with gun violence. Our son was shot at the North Valley Jewish Community Center attack in 1999, and since then we've worked hard to improve the safety of all Angelenos. And we strongly support Councilmember Krikorian's motion to have an investigation to identify where the sources of crime guns are coming from. That's what we really need to know, the answers to this information, so that we can proceed in a more directed and focused way to keep crime guns off of our streets. Once the sources of crime guns are identified, then there are policies, programs, and activities that can be pursued in a targeted fashion to reform, shut down, and legally challenge or criminally prosecute bad apple gun dealers. Those activities can include outreach, education, protest, advocacy, and other actions towards just those bad apple gun dealers, so we can really proceed in a more common sense fashion. Therefore, I urge your strong support of Councilmember Krikorian's motion, as seconded by 4 of his colleagues, and to support the mayor's ongoing efforts to prevent and disrupt the flow of crime guns into the city.
Thank you. Please come forward and identify yourself.
Geraldine Stapleton, President of the California National Organization for Women. We are here in very strong support of Councilman Krikorian's proposal. I think any measures that can be taken, to get the guns out of the wrong hands is a giant step forward to us curtailing what has been going on in our country with this mass destruction of human life. On a personal note, my brother came very, very close to losing his life due to guns being in the wrong hands. And I know that many of our California Now members have also had members of the family, if not directly affected by gun violence. So we strongly urge you to consider this motion, get it passed, and get this survey going. Thank you.
Thank you. If I could get Miss McAllister, please come forward, followed by Mr. Walsh.
Mr. President, I'm speaking for millions of Americans. We feel like, and I do extensive research on the web, that the government that we have is in the process of trying to overthrow our government into communism. All of our rights have been taken away from us when this government, we believe, did 9/11, just so that they can deny us our rights. I don't think Americans are going to give up their weapons. And if it is requested, I would think that Americans won't give up their weapons, because this is our only fight against this nation being overthrown by communist Zionists. So I say to Americans, hold on to your weapons. That's our only defense. And our forefathers and mine, who were slaves, we fought to keep this nation free. And it will be free if we have to go down shooting.
It was Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. The last time I fired a weapon was 1962, before most of you were born in the ROTC. It didn't get my penis hard. I didn't love it. I didn't kiss it. I got rid of it. And I want to tell you right now, you must pass this. Krikorian, I salute you for putting this up here. This city is full of bad apple gun dealers. Now, that's in your agenda. What is a bad apple gun dealer? A corrupt gun dealer. A gun dealer who fakes it. And look what it says. 90% of all crime, violent crimes, are committed by 5% of those who have guns. And they're getting them right now. And I'm sorry, but some LAPD cops are in on the take. You don't see the cops blow ass up here talking about this because they don't like this, because this would hurt the union. This, I'm telling you right now, HollywoodHighlands.org. What? I want you to discuss what you mean by a bad apple. These people don't... You can go to any gun show in California and walk away with a gun if you look like you're 18. If you look like you're 18. Otherwise, I'm telling you right now, I want the guns off the street. I want all the guns off. And I just want black people to remember, blacks are not the minority. And what the whites want to do to you, these whites up here, is kill you with guns. You can't have a gun in the West Side. You try walking around with a gun on the West Side in a Jewish neighborhood, you'll get arrested. But you can do any kind of shit you want if you're white in a black community, and they'll blow you away, and the gangs are hooked in with the police.
Okay, your time has expired. I just received a report, unconfirmed report, that there is or has been a shooting incident at UCLA. 2 people are reported down. This is unconfirmed. If anyone else gets any information, would you please inform us as to what is going on? Again, this is unconfirmed data. Reports state that shots were fired on the north side of campus in the location of the engineering building. So those of us that have friends and children and relatives that go to the school or people that work there, you may want to get on the phone and make sure that everything is okay. I hate to do that to you, Mr. Krikorian, but I felt that it was important that amidst some of this foolishness that be announced. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you for making that announcement. As we understand it, UCLA is right now in lockdown, and students and faculty are sheltering in place. Before we're done today, we'll try to get a phone number that people can contact so that they can get further information and more up-to-date information. I appreciate your bringing that to our attention, Mr. President. Members, if 30,000 Americans died every year in terrorist attacks, this country would leave no stone unturned to find the source of that violence. If 30,000 Americans a year died from a disease, this country would invest billions of dollars a year in research to try to end that disease. And yet, today, this year, and every other year, the United States suffers the loss of 30 or 35 or 40,000 Americans each and every year to gun violence. What Chicago has found in doing research about the crime guns that cause so much death and carnage in that city is that 90% of the guns used in crimes in that city come from just 4 gun dealers. 4. And many of these gun dealers, we see this is true nationally as well. These are, in theory, legitimate gun dealers and yet they ignore any common sense steps to try to be responsive to the law. They sell guns to obvious straw purchasers. They sell guns in large numbers to people who are obviously going to resell these guns on the streets. So what this motion is asking for is a similar study to the one that was done in Chicago here in Los Angeles. We've done a great job in this city, frankly, and I'm so glad our city attorney is here because he's been a wonderful colleague on this issue since he was a council member and through our time in the legislature together and continuing now as city attorney. This city, thanks to the leadership of many of you here, has really been a model for the rest of the country in common sense regulations of the availability of firearms. And yet, we still suffer from gun violence on a daily basis in this city. And what this motion asks for is the research necessary to identify the source of those guns. When we identify where the crime guns are coming from, then we'll have a much clearer idea of what are the appropriate steps we can take to prevent it. We may ask our city attorney to file civil lawsuits against them. We may prevail upon our federal officials for tighter restrictions on or investigations of these gun dealers. There are many steps that might be available to us, but before we can take those steps, we need to have the information necessary to be able to identify what those approaches are. So that's what's before you today. I ask that you join in support of this, and I'm so glad that so many of you have already signed on as seconders. I ask that we move forward in identifying the source of this problem, because enough is enough. Let's find out where these guns are coming from, and let's put a stop to it. I ask for your aye vote.
Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
The ayes have it. Why don't we proceed?
All right. Thank you, members.
Mr. Krikorian, with your presentation.
Members, it's appropriate that we took the action that we just did on this day, and I thank you all very much for your support of the motion and all of the other motions that we've enacted in this council. In January of 2013, Hadia Pendleton had the moment of her life. She was a young 15-year-old drum majorette who had an extraordinary opportunity to perform at the inauguration of the President of the United States. And it was a magnificent time for Hadia, but sadly, within a week of that high point in her life and of her family's life and of her friends' life and of everybody from her school's life, within a week of that opportunity, Hadia was shot dead on the streets of Chicago. Hadia means in Arabic, Hadia means guide to righteousness. And thankfully, Hadia's friends decided to use the tragedy of her death as an opportunity to guide the rest of us to righteousness. And they came up with the idea of wearing orange to commemorate Hadia and her life, and also to remember the cause of her death from gun violence on her birthday each and every year. And June 2nd, tomorrow, Hadia would have been 19 years old. And so people throughout the country who care about putting an end to gun violence are wearing orange, as are many of you today, and thank you for that, are wearing orange to remember Hadia, but also to remember that Hadia was certainly not a unique case. And in the 3.5 years since her death in 2013, 100,000 more Americans have been buried. 100,000 Americans have died from gun violence in those 3.5 years. So, at a time when the country seems to finally be saying enough is enough and demanding action from our leaders in Washington, it's appropriate that this council declare tomorrow, June 2nd, as the city's part in National Gun Violence Awareness Day, and we'll be joining people throughout the country who care about this issue. And so that's why we have such extraordinary activists who have been working day in and day out to try to bring common sense to our discussion about gun violence, who are with us here today, including the victims of gun violence and the families of victims of gun violence. And I appreciate so much their being here. And I'm going to ask in a moment one of them to speak. But before I do, I'd like to give an opportunity to our city attorney, who has spent his entire time in public life fighting for us, fighting for the victims of gun violence, and fighting to prevent gun violence. Our great city attorney, Mike Feuer.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you, Mr. Krikorian. Mr. President, members, Mr. Krikorian's leadership is extraordinary. Your action today is very important. The activists, the leaders in the gun violence prevention community standing with us today have had remarkable success here in Los Angeles. And that success here, our leadership here, can be an example for jurisdictions elsewhere and is being noticed elsewhere. I had an opportunity last week to be invited to speak at a conference at the White House of elected officials, governors and attorneys general, state leaders from around the country, about what we are doing here in Los Angeles and about the work of a coalition that we've started called Prosecutors Against Gun Violence. Prosecutors Against Gun Violence is a national organization. We formed, the DA of Manhattan and I put this together. We have now dozens of prosecutors throughout the nation whose voices cannot be dismissed by anybody on this issue. Most recently, 2 weeks ago, we had a summit of that organization here in Los Angeles on the issue of gangs and gun violence. Because of the teamwork between this city council and our office, terrific things are happening here. There's still too much gun violence here in our city, but we're taking steps. In the President's District, we went after a gun dealer and successfully prosecuted that dealer. In jurisdictions throughout the city, in your districts, we're going after homes that are the source of guns in your neighborhoods. You just gave us additional resources in the budget to continue that effort. When kids bring guns to school, we prosecute the adults who have not safely stored those weapons. There are so many steps that we can take together. The next step that you talked about today is getting to the bottom of the source of crime guns here in the city. We look forward to partnering with you on that exercise as well. The lesson in all this is this. There are some who say there is little we can do to combat the epidemic of gun violence. It is a public health as well as public safety issue, and they are wrong. We know that jurisdictions that have the toughest gun laws have the least incidence of gun violence. Let Los Angeles continue to be a leader in this effort. And Mr. Krikorian, thank you again for your efforts to be a leader here today and every day.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Attorney. We have a short video that I'd like to present now before I introduce the rest of those who are with us. Members, many of the people that you saw in that video are here with us today. They're familiar faces to you because they've been here fighting each and every time we've brought up these issues, and they've fought in the face of some fierce opposition from the NRA and their allies. But they're relentless. They're courageous. They give us inspiration. I'm so pleased to have representatives here from the Brady Campaign LA chapter, the Brady Campaign San Fernando Valley chapter, California Now, Revolve Impact, Jewish Family Services, the International Health and Epidemiology Research Center, and many others who are with us. And I'm especially pleased to be able to recognize now my great friend, the co-chair of Women Against Gun Violence, Lori Safian. Lori.
Thank you, Councilmember Krikorian and the LA City Council for recognizing this extremely important and somber day, National Gun Violence Awareness Day tomorrow. I also want to thank the City Council for being the most forward-thinking and innovative organization in this country, crafting the most significant and powerful gun laws in our country. At a recent event that Women Against Gun Violence held, one of the leaders in crafting statewide legislation said that she looks to Los Angeles, and leaders look to Los Angeles for inspiration about what should be happening statewide. And we are so proud to be your partner in setting this trailblazing national standard for gun violence prevention. I would be remiss if I didn't say that this is the second time we have been in City Council chambers when we have heard of a shooting. And that is a rather sobering thing to consider, because I'm not here every day, and to think that this is the second time I've heard something. So our work together is critical, and we look forward to continuing this partnership to save children and families and communities. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Lori. And as we present this resolution recognizing National Gun Violence Awareness Day, let's hope that our leaders in Washington are listening to Los Angeles as well, and will finally take some action to put a stop to this scourge of gun violence. Thank you very much, members. Thank you, members.
Again, thank you so much, Mr. Krikorian, and thank you, Mr. City Attorney, for it's always a pleasure to see you, Mr. Fuhrer. As they're moving into the back, I want to call on Mr. O'Farrell.
Colleagues,
Mr. O'Farrell, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, in a world where there is so much tragedy, there is also joy. And it is important at moments like these to take stock of that joy and celebrate the good things that are happening in this world and the good people who are making them happen. I want to welcome everyone to the 3rd annual Los Angeles River Day at Los Angeles City Hall. Round of applause, please. We are here to celebrate the collaborative policy efforts and initiatives that are restoring the Los Angeles River to its original glory. I want to welcome and acknowledge one of our federal partners who are fighting for an equitable match to help us restore the river, in particular, our champion, U.S. Congresswoman Lucille Roybal Allard.
Let's give a round of applause and welcome. It's always a pleasure to see you.
I also want to welcome another partner on the federal level, Colonel Kirk Gibbs from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Colonel Gibbs oversees the entire western region of the United States, no small task. He is also here with his colleague, David Van Dorp, who oversees the local office here in Los Angeles. We also have representatives from the Office of Congressman Adam Schiff, Pamela Marcello, and Supervisor Sheila Kuehl, Maria Chong Castillo. It takes all hands on deck to work toward our ambitious goals for the Los Angeles River. That includes our city departments leading the efforts on all aspects of the river, including our Bureau of Engineers, represented by Gary Lee Moore. Gary is here. And last year's recipient of the Golden Paddle, that is Mr. Enrique Saldivar from our Bureau of Sanitation. We have another partner who isn't here, and that is Mike Scholl. I don't believe Mike Scholl is here from Recreation and Parks, but we couldn't do it without the various departments that make these things happen. These are just a few of the departments committed to making the LA River worthy, a worthy destination for active and passive recreation and habitat restoration. And last but not least, sitting to my right, the ultimate steward and the visionary of the Los Angeles River, and that is Mr. Lewis McAdams, founder of FOLAR. I also want to thank the exhibitors who are helping us create even more supporters of our river. There is so much interest in the Los Angeles River. A little competition is good. And as you'll see in our tribute video, you'll see that in real time here. We should all remember it is our river. Together as a city and as proud stewards, we need to realize there is enough for all of us. It's a good problem to have. This past Monday, I launched the recreation zone in Elysian Valley. The one in Sepulveda Basin is also underway. I am thrilled to announce that through my collaboration with Los Angeles Bureau of Sanitation, I've identified $50,000 to fund the Glendale Narrows rec zone through Elysian Valley. And yes, that's a good thing. So this is the 5th year in a row that we have 2 active rec zones going, and I want to thank the MRCA for helping to underwrite the Sepulveda Basin rec zone. That's a good thing. In this next fiscal year, colleagues, we will endeavor together to create a permanent line item in the city's budget for future seasons so our recreation zones can thrive and expand. We need more Angelenos to realize the splendor of the Los Angeles River. It is a critical resource to all the communities along its banks. And while there is great momentum in planning the future of the river, I want you to know that as the representative of the 13th District and chair of the committee that oversees policy on the river, I'm working to preserve the communities along the river as well. As we move forward, we cannot leave our communities behind, as well as working to create a permanent revenue stream that will allow us to improve our infrastructure, restore habitat, help clean up brownfields, and provide a more livable community, including the production of low and moderate income housing to help address the #1 crises facing our great city. Here is some of the policy we're working on to create the progress. This council in February of last year, 2015, approved the study for an enhanced increment finance district, the first in the state, certainly the first in Los Angeles, along the river. EIFDs will allow the city to direct a portion of future incremental property taxes for lasting community improvements along the river, such as I mentioned before, affordable housing, habitat restoration, open space, improved infrastructure, bridges, things that will bring people to the river and keep them there. The motion won full support. It's now being studied for implementation. This is not a tax increase. I repeat, it is not a tax increase. It will not be a tax increase. For the past year, I've been building support for EIFDs up and down the river throughout Los Angeles County and with the county supervisors that I've met with individually and mayors south of Los Angeles. There is strong interest going county-wide on an enhanced increment financing district, not just Los Angeles. The preliminary results for just the city look very promising, and by end of summer, we will be able to share some options for establishing a permanent revenue stream to make these good things happen along the river in the very near future, within a few years, not within decades, but a few years. I worked with the community of Elysian Valley to update the queue conditions there. There are a set of guidelines used to inform development that include preference for adaptive reuse. The conditions allow the neighborhood to maintain its established character while discouraging out-of-scale developments. A neighborhood-by-neighborhood approach all along the river as we implement our big picture goals will be critical to support and the encouragement and the livelihood of our constituents moving forward. We work together as a council and with a special assist by Jose Huizar on the arts development fee to revive it, to bring it back to life. We are now having an infusion of millions of dollars for the arts in LA. And because of this action, I'm thrilled that the city was able to provide the required match to the Bloomberg grant, which makes current the Public Art Biennial possible. We must recognize the importance of celebrating our river through artistic expression. And with us from Bloomberg today, I'd like to acknowledge Robin Reed and Alice Shea, representing Bloomberg and Associates here. In my district, we're also taking a look at opening city-owned property next to the river in Atwater Village for open space and an expansion of North Atwater Park. We must maximize city-owned resources that are languishing and make it possible for more Angelenos to enjoy the serenity of nature at the urban core. There are a lot of dreams to restore, to the greatest extent possible, natural elements of the LA River. The many communities along its 51 miles and beyond deserve this investment, for it is the place that brought our ancestors together centuries ago. This is our river, our city, our resource. It has given us so much. Now it is time to give back. What we will get back in return is invaluable and worthy of the world-class city we strive to be. I thank all of you for giving me the privilege of collaborating with you in all of these efforts. I introduced a few champions earlier, and now I would like to have one of these champions say a few words. We would not be near where we are if not for the years and years of work by Congresswoman Lucille Roybal Allard. Ms. Allard.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here to celebrate the third annual Los Angeles River Day at City Hall. And I want to thank Councilman Mitch O'Farrell for his very kind invitation to join you this morning. I also want to extend my congratulations to FOLAR for today's recognition on its 30th anniversary, and my most sincere congratulations to Lewis McAdams, who, as godfather of the LA River, deserves to be bestowed the honor of LA River Hero. Congratulations. Over the years, it has truly been my honor to initiate and lead congressional efforts on the LA River Revitalization Project in Washington, D.C. Our success, however, is the result of the collaborative efforts of stakeholders here at home and my colleagues in Washington, D.C. A few weeks ago, 12 members of Congress from the Los Angeles delegation signed a letter urging the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee to authorize the LA River project. As you know, without the authorization, federal money would not be appropriated. Last week, the House committee included the authorization of the Los Angeles River Ecosystem Restoration Project in the Water Resource Development Act of 2016. That was a huge victory. And this victory was made possible because my Southern California colleagues and I had the support of stakeholders and advocates like FOLAR, the City of Los Angeles, the county, and many of you in this room who for years have been steadfast in your advocacy of the revitalization project. Your efforts in Washington, D.C. were especially critical to our authorization success. Once Congress passes the final version of the bill and WRDA is signed into law, hopefully with the authorization of the LA River project in the bill. We still need to work to make sure that stays in there. We can then secure the appropriations and begin the construction of the project. Again, the collaborative efforts of the Los Angeles River family will be more critical than ever. But once the northern section of the LA River revitalization project gets underway, our work does not stop there. We must then begin the process of working with the communities that line the riverbanks south of downtown to bring the same benefits of restoration, revitalization, and economic opportunity. This collective, collaborative regional approach will be a win-win for all of the Los Angeles area. And it will be a win-win for Angelenos and visitors from across the country and the world who will be able to enjoy the Los Angeles River all the way to the sea. I look forward to working with all of you towards that end. And again, I extend my congratulations to today's honorees, and thank you, Councilman Farrell, for your leadership on this issue.
Thank you so much. It's no wonder that we're starting to see change in Washington because of Congresswoman Lucille Roybal Allard's leadership. So we thank you so much for your partnership. Next, we have to be really nice to this man, because if we're not, he won't even let us in the river at all. And that is Colonel Kirk Gibbs from the Army Corps of Engineers, who's going to say a few words, our newest friend on the river. And like I said, treat him really well, because we wouldn't get to do anything if he doesn't agree. Thank you. You bet.
Welcome, Colonel.
Representative Roybal Allard, Councilman O'Farrell, President Wesson, and esteemed council members, as well as Mr. McAdams and LA River advocates. I'm delighted to join you today as we celebrate the Los Angeles River for the precious resource that she is, and indeed to not only the city but also the nation. As you know, just a few days ago, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers again opened a portion of the Los Angeles River corridor in Sepulveda Basin for recreational, non-motorized boating, part of a joint effort with the city to offer the public expanded access to the river. Providing safe and healthy recreation experiences to meet the needs of current and future generations is part of the Corps' strategic plan. We recognize the critical role we have in balancing our responsibilities among increasing interest in recreational opportunities along this great river, and we're committed to partnering with the city, the county, non-governmental agencies to combine effective flood damage reduction, habitat restoration, and recreation in an urban area. I'm especially pleased to see the city and Corps Los Angeles River Ecosystem Restoration Project continuing to move forward. As you know, we completed the feasibility study, and once again I want to thank the city and I want to thank Friends of the LA River for their role in that. That was a huge success, a huge accomplishment. And as the representative mentioned, both the Senate and House committees are drafting legislation which would authorize construction of this critical and important project to this city. We've already begun coordinating on the design and drafting a project management plan that will guide the effort. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the LA River Day, Los Angeles River Day, comes on the heels of National Safe Boating Week, May 21st through the 27th. So with the opening of the recreational boating program this past weekend, I must take the opportunity to remind boaters and all who will visit the river this summer season to please be safe in and around water and to always wear a life jacket. Again, thank you for inviting me to take part in this special day. I look forward to the continued collaboration on the Los Angeles River, all things related to it. Thank you.
Thanks, Colonel. Thank you so much for your remarks. Colleagues, next I'm going to introduce a person who's so special that the reason we're all gathered today is because of this individual. And if you've ever spent any time, just a moment, with Lewis McAdams, you've been made a better person just by being in his presence. He is a poet, a raconteur. When he was a young man, he saw a vision for the concrete channel that was the LA River. that very few other individuals had even imagined. But because he was determined, because he had the passion, because he believed, he pushed forward. And he started Friends of the Los Angeles River 30 years ago. He carries on in ways large and small, but he is relentless. He is our champion. He is our visionary. He is our honorary individual. He is our honored individual today. And that is the founder of FOLAR and an angel among angels in the city of angels, Lewis McAdams. Lewis. Yep. Yeah, you bet. You bet. Yeah, you're there. You're good.
It's hard to know what to say when you get an introduction like that. I think that what I would say is that I look around this room, and so many of the people here, both elected and non-elected and friends, etc., are part of a family that we began to create 30 years ago, the Friends of the Los Angeles River. And we're now planning the next 30 years for Friends of the Los Angeles River and for the river itself. I guess I would really, there's so many people here to thank that I won't thank anybody except my darling daughter, Natalia. I'd like her to stand up. She's the light in my life. And I'd also just like to thank the people from Friends of the Los Angeles River. It's been a kind of a ship of fools for a long, long time, and it only gets more and more surreal and real as we go along. And every day when I go into the office at Friends of the Los Angeles River, I know it's going to be fun, and fun is at the core of what we do. I wanted to read a poem. I can see people wincing. It's really about what we're talking about right now, and it's called The Voice of the River. The voice of the river is a red-winged blackbird twittering in the trash bags festooned across the branches of a cottonwood like prayer flags. The freeways are louder than the river. The I-5, the 110, the LBC overwhelm the river and its tributaries with their roar. But when the tributaries bring their gifts of rainwater to the main stem, the river can be louder than the thunder rolling out of the San Gabriels. The voice of the river is the golf balls clanking in the power towers and the kids on their bicycles laughing when they spot the mud people moving along the sandbars in silent meditation. I hear the river singing through the passing railroad cars, the screeching metal as a Metrolink commuter train tears apart, news choppers circle overhead, the howling ambulance sirens followed by the coyote pack's howls, the high-pitched chee and the endless meetings, always one or two more, the laptops clicking, the TMDLs, the BMPs, the RFPs, the SSOs and the UAAs, the murmuring bureaucrats, the sharp whack of gavels, the deep voice of command, the swooping bats and the swallows and swifts. I listen for them to make my own hearing more acute. The scream of a fishhawk, the flapping of 100 pigeons, and the rock doves too scatter in fear. A great blue heron's sorrowful honk, the trill and ripple of water moving across rocks. At the center of itself, the river is silence, and that's where I come in, with the sounds in my head and the words in my heart. Thank you for this great honor. I'm really loving a happy moment.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
So, Lewis, it gives us all great pleasure to stand here together with you and present you as the honoree of the 2016 River Day Los Angeles.
Thank you very much, and I'd especially like to thank Shelley Backlar, who has been sailing with me these last 13 years, and I just want to say thankful.
can stay right there, and we'll just hold this for you, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Let's do this. Lucille, step forward. Get right in. Right in.
Louis?
I feel like Spike Lee.
And for FOLAR's 30th anniversary. Congratulations, FOLAR. 30 years of success at the river. Thank you. One more time. Really good.
Spike Lee. And up this way.
Mr. O'Farrell, I do have a member, so if you'd kind of let me know how you want to wrap this.
So let's do this. Mr. President. Let's show the third installment of the River Follies. And I just want to preface this with professionals toil day in and day out to make good things happen at the river. And I mean from the nonprofits, from the government agencies, from my office, from my staff, from the mayor's staff to other staff members. We work really hard. And every now and again, maybe once a year, it's okay to take a breath, have some fun at the river, and that's what we've done this year. So, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, let's roll the film, third installment of The River Follies.
Coretz, did you and your merry band steal the Golden Paddle? The pride of the LA River, the biggest trophy in the city of Los Angeles? It's only fair that the Valley get their shot. After all, the LA River headwaters begin in the West Valley. Well, these guys might have something to say about it. I propose hand-to-hand combat, mano y womano. No, that's not fair. Nuri, you might hurt somebody. Why don't we do a relay race? A race up the river from the soft bottom to the Sepulveda Dam. Nuri, your kayaking skills won't help you here.
Mitch O'Farrell has a sizable lead, and it looks like Nori's in the weeds.
And Jose, that fancy driving is not going to make a difference. And remember, whenever I'm involved, there are bonus points for style.
get this LA River Bikeway finished.
Remind me later. Let's get Prop 1 funds and make this happen. You've been scorched.
Lewis, on behalf of the City Council, on behalf of your family, we congratulate you and we award you as the winner of the Golden Paddle.
That's a motley crew. They threw Enrique. They threw Enrique out of the photo. Mr. O'Farrell, I do have a speaker on the queue.
Okay.
Mr. Cedillo.
Congratulations to everyone, and I want to know who those stunt doubles were, though.
Those are hilarious.
You know, it's been an incredible year, and so congrats to everybody. And Lewis, my brother, thank you so much for your incredible leadership and your vision. Others need to be noted, though, and we know them well. If you know anything about the river, Ed Reyes, former council member, is a champion on this, the entirety of his presence here on the city council. Congresswoman, you know this because you were with him in the beginning when he spoke about his vision and his hopes and aspirations to create this river for the entire community. And this year there's been some champions as well, focused on the restoration and revitalization. Our state senator, Senator Pro Tem of the State Senate, Kevin De Leon, early leadership with his commitment and pledge of $25 million, that should be noted, very significant for the purchase of G2. And then I'd like to note that Arturo Chavez, my chief of staff, has spent hours and hours and hours doing the hard work of negotiating to make that a reality for this city. And thanks to the mayor, Eric Garcetti, who placed $40 million in the city budget so that the purchase of G2 could be part of this long extension, it's like a necklace. And this is one of the many beads and jewels. G2 is going to be part of that, and thank the mayor for his incredible leadership and for the $40 million that was placed into the city budget for that purchase. We're not quite done yet, but those two commitments make a significant headway into making that purchase, G2, for the city and for the river. So they also need to be added to the champions of the river. Congratulations, Louis. Thank you.
And colleagues, with that, seeing as there are no other speakers, that concludes River Day LA 2016, and I want to thank my staff for pulling this together. Christine Peters, who produced, and my entire staff who came together to provide a little bit of joy when we need it most. Thank you so much, and may God bless everyone who's participating and helping make our river reach its full potential. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Steps. We're going to the steps for a photo, the front steps of City Hall for a photo.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, it's my understanding we want to reconsider an item. I believe item 13.
That is correct, sir.
Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
And Mr. President, there's been a request to continue this matter to June 14.
Okay, so without objection, that'll be the order. Why don't we move to item 10?
Very good, sir. Item 10, called Special for Cards.
Okay, if I can get Ms. Elizabeth Peterson and Mr. Walsh and Mr. Previn. Okay, if I could get Ms. Peterson, are you here? Followed by Mr. Walsh, followed by Mr. Previn.
Good afternoon, council members. The Edmund is the original bar of the Hollywood Historic Hotel at 5168 Melrose Avenue. The bar has a full food service from the full-service hotel kitchen. The bar is named the Edmund by the ownership, Edmund's children, in honor of their father, Edmund, who restored this hotel entirely by hand. It is now on the National Register of Historic Places. The Hollywood Historic Hotel Bar will contribute to local economic development by ensuing continued taxable sales, employee wages, and benefits. As a commercially zoned property, the project encourages the Plan Objective 2.1 to preserve and strengthen viable commercial development and provide additional opportunities for new commercial development and services within the existing surrounding areas. This building has done just that. It has brought vibrancy to this area of Melrose. The owners have carefully renovated and restored the historically significant hotel properly and the associated bar. The property, recognized by the National Register of Historic Places, provides a unique opportunity for residents, visitors, and tourists. The hotel is at a 90% occupancy. It's one of the great treasures of this area of Hollywood and Los Angeles. The Edmund family is committed to preserving it. Their father took this drug-infested hotel and restored it brick by brick, hand by hand, gold leaf by gold leaf, and they would like to restore the historically significant bar at the hotel. Thank you for your time today.
Mr. Walsh, followed by Mr. Previn, followed by Mr. Hunt.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. This concerns another liquor license. Now, before west of La Brea, no liquor licenses. East of La Brea, any liquor license you want. We have the highest rate of hit-and-run driving in the United States. That's because we have the easiest place in California to get by alcohol is here. And I'm telling you, the days when that La Brea line stood, I just want all the Jews to know that 2 people were shot at Boatler Hall. 2 people were shot. Your neighborhood is getting the alcohol now. Your neighborhood is going to get it. The Jews are going to get it. My great-grandfather's people are going to get it now because you let it. There's no more room in the black and Hispanic neighborhoods, and they're coming for the Jews. 2 shot, bleeding in the street in Boatler Hall. We're saying 100% against another. Why do we need another alcohol license? It says right here, for public convenience or necessity. Look, and when I call you scumbags, I'm not talking about Cedillo, but the rest of you are total scumbags. No bars in your neighborhood. I'm telling you right now, the blood is on UCLA. The gangs have a deal with the police. They're coming to get the Jews now. And your little Jewish people like Koretz, he's a limp dick prick, HollywoodHighlands.org. They're coming to get the Jews at UCLA.
That's a pretty tasteless thing to say when 2 people were just killed today at UCLA. We're hearing that, no, you're disrupting the meeting. You get to speak now. It's my turn. It's a tasteless thing today. 2 young people or 2 people lost their lives. We believe maybe 7 others have been injured, and we have no further information. To joke about that shows a sickness. Mr. Previn?
Thank you, sir. Item 10, sorry. So this is an application for determination of public convenience or necessity to provide a liquor license. I thought the presentation by the very first speaker described a nice story of a hotel that's required, they're going to make some alcohol available. It sounds like a great property on Melrose, so I'm supportive. I don't know if it's the necessity. It's probably the public convenience in that case. There was a very interesting related item on the agenda of the county about looking at liquor licenses countywide, this is inside the jurisdiction of that, obviously. And, Mark Ridley Thomas was making a motion for looking at in Los Angeles, South Los Angeles, and other parts where Mr. Cedillo is installed as well, that there's a problem with too many liquor licenses and not enough healthy food operations. So what they're asking regional planning over at the county to do, and I support it, is to look at a way to limit the amount of liquor licenses, which, as you know, can attract crime in the unincorporated area of the county, and try to foster, obviously, healthy food options. They call it the food desert in some parts because there are just, convenience store after convenience store after convenience store that have liquor due to the licenses, but they don't have healthy snacks or healthy food of any kind. So this is a disaster for that community. It creates stress on those communities. And I know you've been working diligently along with Price and others to try to find solutions along with your partners at the county. And so that's why I would ask you to look at that item on Tuesday's agenda from the county and see if you can support. They even cited the City of LA as a good group. Believe it, I couldn't believe it. They said that this group here had made some progress in providing a kind of a rubric for sorting out how to do it. I have not seen evidence of that at either the city or the county. Thank you.
Mr. Hunt?
The Red Chief Hunt, for the record, on the business card, determining whether that alcohol permits should continue to plague Los Angeles, not only in drunk driving, but in really getting the permits out there to these distributors so they can distribute alcohol, so they can kill people. I think that on every other block there's an alcohol license on Melrose. There's a lot of eateries with an alcohol license. There's a lot of problems with alcohol. Here's what it does. It gets people intoxicated. They go out, hit somebody, kill somebody, and yet they get charged with murder, so it comes back through the system, or drunken while under the influence. And who does it really cost? It really costs us, the tax people. So if you really want to distribute license on every other corner, you guys have already been paid to do this. You guys have been bought and paid for through elections and through committees and stuff like that. So the Red Chief is really going to say vote yes on this one, because this is what you guys do. You guys vote to kill people so that we can run it through the system. It's systematic. Every time you issue a license, you kill about 3 or 4 people. And no matter how you look at it, whether it's Melrose, whether it's South Central, Los Angeles, somebody's going to end up dead with this liquor license, and the blood's going to be on your hands. And you guys ought to stop. You guys ought to go up there and do a survey on that. On Melrose, on every other block, there's some liquor or some beer and wine license going on. The Red Chief Hunt will be back.
Okay, let's... Was there another card on this item? Please come forward and identify yourself. Your name?
Yes, I understand. Thank you. My name is Dr. Vicki Huffnagel, and I'm honored to be able to present this issue to you. I'm requesting that the City Council form a task force on bank crimes. I'm a supporter of Harris, but I haven't seen any of the $20 million.
Whoa. You know what? You are... We're dealing with a specific item, so...
No, I'm not.
Wait.
Oh.
I'm going to call... This is not the time for general public comment.
Public.
So I will call you when we finish with this vote. Don't worry about it. You'll be called. Let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That brings us where, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. President, that brings council to general public comment.
Okay. Ma'am, if I can ask you to come back.
I'm sorry. I'm asking for a task force on bank crimes because currently you do not have the funds for the police to have a proper computer system. If someone gets something stolen or broken from their home that's been under the bank crime issues, the police cannot even push in a button and find out that that home has been broken into multiple times. Their system does not work. Secondly, I'm starting a website from today on called Bank Crimes, because the abatements and liens that you discussed as number 1, you are not billing the banks. Many of these cases are in litigations, and the banks, who have much deeper pockets than the poor people that are losing their homes, can be put the liens on them or just bill them and collect the money. Deep pockets and deep criminal RICO activities are going on. And I look forward to working with you because we have intelligent people in Los Angeles who can educate the police and other divisions on bank crimes. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Julius, President Julius, Ms. McAllister, and Sean Murphy.
Well, give me a second. Can she go first, Herb?
No, you go. You want to, Ms. McAllister? Thank you for being a gentleman, Ms. McAllister.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm still concerned about CalSTRS stealing and embezzling teacher retirement funds. If you want to know more about this, I will explain this at an administrative hearing on June 23rd. That's on a Thursday at 9 a.m. at 320 West 4th Street, Suite 630. So that's Suite 630. Now, that's going to be a hearing, and I'll have it all laid out on how they are embezzling funds. That's California State Retirement System. And that's at 320 West 4th Street, Suite 630. That's on a Thursday, June 23rd. They've given me a hearing so that I can explain the embezzlement. I'd like the city to file a lawsuit after I present my claims, and I would like to see some prison time go to somebody, because these teachers we work hard, and I taught there 7 years, not only LAUSD, but in the county juvenile detention centers where you know it's very dangerous. I taught for those kids 7 years.
Thank you. So now if I can get President Julius, if I can get Sean Murphy, if I can get Jacqueline Richardson, please come forward. Ms. Richardson. Yes.
Thank you, Herb, for allowing me to speak. I'm sure you noticed that Bill Cosby was arrested a short time after I spoke here. Now, if you're a fool, you think that's a coincidence. They did that to honor my super genius, to honor my balls. You would all be dead if not for my super genius. More importantly, if not for my balls. Now they're going to tear down the 5-star bar. That's a huge mistake. That's a big mistake because I've done some of my best theoretical quantum physics work at that bar. Beer does make me more brilliant. I suffer horribly for drinking beer when I don't have enough money for my beer medicine, but beer definitely makes me more brilliant. But I'm willing to suffer for the starving children. Don't let them tear down that historical monument, the 5-star bar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So Mr. Murphy, followed by Ms. Richardson, followed by Mr. Oscar Mohammed. Sean?
Yes. Happy summer. It's my last city council meeting. When I get back in September, we're celebrating 8 years of me being in city council chambers. Our city is going to hell-hole. I'm tired of hearing gunshots like that. Something ought to be done. Washington, you need to wake up and control this guns city. I'm sick of my city being shot. We need to do something.
Ms. Richardson, please come forward, followed by Mr. Mohammed, followed by Mr. Previn, followed by Mr. Hunt, followed by Mr. Walsh. Yes, ma'am.
Approximately 2002, this man at the Pasadena Metro Station said that he was a criminal, and all the immigrants coming over with them were criminals. He also said he could identify them, but I couldn't do that. It was in the paper approximately 2001, 2007, someplace in there, that the former police chief, not the one now, he was a white man, had to deal with H.R. 40, which allowed criminals to walk the streets without being apprehended. This was showed forth at Markham Junior High School in Los Angeles. It was in the newspaper also that one of the vice principals raped a little black girl, and the second time he did it, he was fired.
Mr. Mohammed, followed by Mr. Previn, followed by Mr. Hunt, followed by Mr. Walsh.
We have formed a group of community. We have formed a group of people in society that do not perform their duty. They're failing to perform their duty. But anyway, we should end Skid Row. We should give the homeless a ticket and a lunch basket and send them back to where they came from. But I guess the mayor loses too much revenues. We should end mismanagement of revenues. We should have more duty in our society. We should have political duty. We should have more political responsibility. We should have more political accountability. We should have checks over what our political system doing, though. We see how New York Wall Street, controls American politics almost. But seems like Wall Street is the most dangerous community in America, and year after year they get millions and millions of dollars for bailout. We should find a way to create jobs in our society. We should find a way to assist the homeless. We need emergency shelter today. People are destitute, they have no place to sleep. They're sleeping on the ground.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. Thank you. So if I could get Mr. Previn, Mr. Hunt, Mr. Walsh. Mr. Previn.
Yes, thank you. It's Eric Previn speaking on behalf of myself. I want to thank Krikorian and Martinez for stepping up in our effort to control bad apple gun dealers. And I enjoyed the Gun Violence Day coming up celebration and the River Day celebration. I thought I particularly liked the poet. He's a very deep character, and I appreciated that. No Englander today, I noticed, but that's just, he's excused, I'm sure. The issue for me is item 26. I signed up because I like the process of open government. And this one was where the mayor is supposed to, if he has a veto, and apparently he doesn't yet, he has till June 2nd. And I would imagine that people are allowed to come down on that item when it's put on an agenda of a big agency like this to say, hey, mayor, object because, insert some reason. But instead, the way we do it here at City Hall, is my understanding, according to Fauble and now obviously the Gobernador O'Connell, is we don't take any comment on items like that, which I think is a mistake. I think that it discourages engagement. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Hunt, followed by Mr. Walsh.
We come down here, this mask represents freedom of speech. Freedom of speech, freedom of love, freedom of whatever you believe in. Do I believe in it? Hell no. Is it part of the First Amendment? Hell yeah. Now, the reason why I brought it down here is just to show you, we're down here for a reason. This jackass took my job. Mike Bonin took my job. The only reason why we come down here is like that is because it's a cause. We're activists. We're not jackasses. When you take somebody else's job, then you truly understand. Somebody got to correct it. Like Janice Hahn and Bill Rosenthal corrected it. It needs to be correct, Herb Wesson. This is not a terrorist thing. This is because people don't have jobs. If you get it and you can read between the underlying, you can do something about it. If you're a real president.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh at HollywoodHighlands.org. You want to hold the Olympics at the UCLA. You can't even protect the students. You have a rampage. 2 people dead. How many more will be dying? I don't know. It's out of control, and you have a mayor that spends too much time smooching with his gay lover, Glenn Dake, and not enough time running the city. He should be out there right now. But you have, according to the LA Times, hundreds of cops out there. I want every black and brown person to realize that when somebody's murdered in your neighborhood, they don't give a shit. But when it's murdered and it's my color skin, we get hundreds of cops. And these scumbags up here, that Bojangles up here, and they're just as white as I am. Cedillo I don't count because he's an honorable man. HollywoodHighlands.org. The city is out of control, and the mayor is sucking off his board.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. That concludes general public comment. I'm sorry if it offended you, but I have to let them act up. Mr. Price?
I'd like to get 11 and 12, 11, 12, and 14 forthwith, please.
Without objection.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, what business is before this council?
Mr. President, council has motions for posting and referral.
Okay, they're posted, they're referred. Announcements, members. Can we all rise? Can we all rise? I think the least that we can do at this point until we get more data is to have a moment of silence for what's going on at UCLA and the 2 people that have apparently lost their lives. So if we could have a moment of silence. Thank you. I'm looking to my right side, Mr. Rue Koretz's side for adjourning motions. I'm now looking to my left side, Mr. Blumenfeld. Mr. Cedillo.
Members, I ask that we adjourn in the memory of Patricia Eileen Griffith, born July 15th, 1950, and left us April 18th, 2016. She was born in Burbank, raised by Jim and Francis in Southern California with her brothers Tom and Fred. She graduated with a BS in mathematics from UC Irvine, later received a Master's of Physics in Textile Physics at the University of Leeds, and lived and worked in the north of England for several years. She returned to Los Angeles in 1978 to work at McDonnell Douglas in Long Beach, where she met Scott Burley, her love of her life. In 1980, they moved to an old house in Mount Washington that reminded them of their grandmother's home where they lived for the rest of their life. Their daughter Geneva was born in 1985 and promptly set about bringing them endless joy. Just last month, Pat celebrated Geneva's marriage to Jeremy Kerr. Geneva and Jeremy live in Studio City. Pat's background in mathematics and systems analysis grew into an expertise in providing data-driven direction to managed healthcare organizations, including Molina Healthcare and most recently LA Care. But Pat had a second love and a second career that was at least as important to her, trying to make things better for her community. She was well known throughout the community, where she turned her intelligence, tenacity, patience, empathy, and boundless energy towards local organizations that advanced the causes she felt were important: early childhood education, active transportation, the rights of women, and the enjoyment and protection of nature. For many years, Pat served the community through the Mount Washington School PTA, the Mount Washington Association, the Arroyo Seco Neighborhood Council, and she was also our ambassador to the Los Angeles County Bicycle Coalition. She was a rock climber, she was an avid hiker, a runner, a bicyclist, and she was known to be very athletic. In addition, she was also a member of a book club with Scott, a wine tasting group, active in all our art walks in the Northeast Los Angeles. And she and Scott were founding members of the Mount Washington Kinder Care Co-op, a family of families who cared for and about each other's children and remain close to this day. And then her love of children took her further, drawing her to the founding of the Mount Washington Preschool and Child Care Center. It's known as the Joy Pikus Center. And there she was on the board of directors for 23 years and 14 years served as their president. Pat did everything she could for our community. Very active, very well known, a stalwart of the Northeast, and she will be deeply missed.
Thank you. Any other adjourning motions? I don't see any. Members, this meeting is adjourned. See you Friday.